Thank you all for being here today. I want to specifically thank the members of the Santa Clara PAC who have spent days putting this process together. The PAC endorsed 2 years ago and all the candidates won, and we're very proud of our first endorsement. The purpose of our PAC is to support candidates that we feel best represents the values of many businesses in the better Santa Clara area. These values include seeking individuals with different backgrounds and ethnicity. Last year we approached the Hispanic, Black, and Vietnamese chambers looking for possible candidates. We did not get the interest we had hoped, and we were not able to find candidates interested in serving the city from an elected position. From this experience, we decided we want to add an educational portion to our endorsements. We felt by streaming these interviews, we'd be able to educate and interest future candidates for council positions. The difficult time the city is facing has become even more important to have individuals with business backgrounds to help make the right short-term and long-term decisions. For the candidates that we will interview today, it's not intended to make the process difficult. Rather, we're hoping to help you become aware of the problems and issues that face the city, specifically that affect business. Not all candidates decided to be interviewed through this process. To those that did not, we wish them well. If you do receive our endorsement, it is because we feel that you best represent the many businesses of Santa Clara. For those that do not receive our endorsement, we want you to know that we appreciate your efforts and applaud the fact that you're involved. If you're elected, endorsed or not, we look forward to working with you. It's important to note the long history of the city and business in Santa Clara, one of mutual respect and ability to find common goals that benefit all the citizens of Santa Clara. We're relatively new to endorsing candidates, and we want the process to be very transparent. We want to provide voters with as much information about the process and the decision we have made. I wish to congratulate all of you on your choice to involve yourself with the City of Santa Clara, a decision you'll never regret. Let's begin. I'll introduce Bill Collins, running for Council Seat 7, and he'll tell us a little bit about himself. Bill?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Bill Collins, and I am a resident here in Santa Clara and have been for about 10 years. I currently live in what many people would consider the north side, and I live in the Rivermark redevelopment area, and specifically in the community that's named for that, Rivermark. I'm married, been married for 5 years to a wonderful woman, and Mr. Cherry, even though I'm not of any specific ethnicity, my wife is. She's Vietnamese, and we have 2 wonderful children, a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old. So if I look a little red in the eyes, it's because I was up at 4 a.m. this morning. But having children is a wonderful thing, and seeing the growth there is like watching the city grow and change in the last several years dramatically, in my view, as it has with the development of what used to be the Agnew State Hospital area in that entire northern part of our great city. I have served in that community as president of the Rivermark Community Homeowners Association, specifically called the Community Association Rivermark, for the last 8 years, and out of those 8 years, I believe that I've served in the role of president for 5 of those years. It's a vast community with 1,100 homes and many issues related to budgets and living within our means that relate to the issues that the city faces as well. We in our community have not raised our homeowners dues in the last 5 years. In fact, this year our master budget is $1 below where it was 5 years ago. Yet I think if you were to visit our community, you would see that we've kept it in good shape, and we've continued to maintain things and develop good customer service. With respect to the city of Santa Clara, I'm interested in focusing on 3 primary aspects. That would be budget, operational excellence, and good customer service. This city needs to be self-reliant. Even though we've been a very conservative city with respect to our budget and looking after things, while we, I believe, relied a little bit too much on the state, and now that things have changed at the state level, it has thrown the city into a bit of a difficult situation. If we make ourselves self-reliant, then we don't have to depend upon what other people do that would impact us in a negative way. That translates to having budgets which are not just temporarily reduced in my view, but would be permanently reduced into a fashion where we can reasonably maintain our services and without expanding services as well. I believe one of the questions that the PAC was interested in is where do you see the services going for the city, and what new services should we be adding? And in my view, we shouldn't be adding any new services. I think there's enough there already. We need to maintain what we have. So moving on to my second point, operational excellence. There are a lot of basic services that a city provides, roads, water, sewer, trash. Those are the things that we need to focus on first, and not on special projects. Special projects are the nice to have things, or the luxury items, as my wife might say in our personal life. We need to focus on those things, making our roads nice, making our medians look good, keeping the trash up. That'll make Santa Clara a nice place to visit when you drive through. For example, if you happen to drive through that area that's near the San Jose International Airport, part of it's San Jose, part of it's Santa Clara, and you know, some of that's really awful looking. If you travel throughout the country and you look at other cities, the airport is a showcase. When people land here and they exit off into 87, that's kind of the end of the showcase, and except for, I think, part of the Santa Clara area, which is maintained at a higher level already than San Jose. And then third is customer service. My direct experience with the city in the last 10 years living here, as well as acting on behalf of my homeowners association, is seeing that slide a little bit. I'm not sure the reasons for that, but I think that we need to focus on the city providing good customer service, responsiveness, and in my view, in my personal work life, focusing on customer service and service management, it could be that we're trying to do too many things, and hence we don't have the manpower now to focus on that customer service. I didn't speak much about my professional life. My background training is in television. I worked for a large semiconductor company here in the Valley for many years. About 5 years ago, I left that company and started my own company, titled or named Collins eMedia. About 10 to 30% of my company's focus is on eMedia aspects, which would be audio, video, data conferencing, event support, and that type of thing. The other 70% is focused on service management and the tools related to supporting service. For example, if you would call in and ask for support from someone, they're going to have a record of who you are in that process for delivering that service. So my experience there is with delivering that process and delivering that tool. So, Mr. Chairman, I will turn it over to any questions that you might have.
We will start with Brendan Harrington with the first set of questions, please.
Bill, good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Let me start with two things. One, a clarification, and second, a question.
Yes.
Just, you talked about focusing on some of the core things, the keeping it looking good, trash, and which I respect all that. But you also talked about not doing special projects, the luxury items.
Yes.
Could you elaborate what you mean by the special projects, those luxury items?
Well, in speaking with a current sitting council member, one of those special projects that I understand is the potential of bringing the Swim Hall of Fame here to Santa Clara. Now, Santa Clara has a great heritage with swimming, and you know, having that Swim Hall of Fame here, that would be wonderful. But for the city to put effort and focus on that now, when we have budget shortfalls, and which those are translated into manpower as well, it's something that we shouldn't focus on.
Fair enough. And what, as chamber members,
Yes.
and you're a business owner,
Yes.
what would you see as a vibrant chamber in the community and Chamber of Commerce, and how would it work best with the City Council?
I think a vibrant Chamber of Commerce champions not only existing businesses, but new businesses. The chamber should probably seek out new businesses. That would be easy to identify through the Secretary of State, and invite them to become members of the chamber. I mean, it probably is incumbent upon those business members to seek the chamber out, but in these times it's always good to be, dual directional. I think that the chamber can promote business to the city as well. Collectively, the chamber can aggregate those concerns and communicate them as a more powerful voice, I believe, to the council. I think the council's response to the chamber should be to respect that role of maybe being a voice for business in the community. Not to take it as the sole voice, but as certainly a voice of influence.
Thank you.
Lou Mariano, you have a question?
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
The Association of Bay Area Governments, their ideal job to housing ratio, I don't know if you're aware, is 1-to-1, which is nice because it's nice environmentally not to have to drive too far to get to your job. Santa Clara, as you may know or not know, I think is at 3.9-to-1 or 1.9-to-1. I'm not sure. Whatever it is one of the higher ratios in the Bay Area.
Jobs versus
residents, yeah. And ABEG is kind of important because they regionally control how much growth we could do if we're not going to appropriate housing goals. Where do you see housing, a good spot for housing in the Santa Clara to be?
Well, first of all, I think it's important that the city keeps its own identity and it doesn't acquiesce too much of its influence and governance to a larger organization. Assuming that we can do that within state law, we shouldn't acquiesce our responsibilities away to some other organization to help make decisions for us. I think the marketplace should help identify how many homes we need to businesses as far as identifying how many homes we need here versus how many businesses we need here. Both have benefits to the city. I mean, you can't have a city that has no residents, and or you can't have a city that has no businesses either. I don't know that it needs to be 1-to-1. If the city seems like a fairly beneficial place to live. I have plenty of places to shop. I think there are plenty of opportunities for me to go find places to live within the city, whether it's a rental home versus purchasing my own home. If I were to move today, I don't think I would have difficulty finding a home to buy within Santa Clara. Did I answer your question?
Well, you did, and I kind of agree with you. It's nice for Santa Clara to be independent, but unfortunately, the Bay Area Association of Governments have control of how many jobs we could attract for the future, and they tie that into housing.
There is a lot of real estate that's been empty, although the facility I'm thinking of is in San Jose. The semiconductor company I worked for in the past, they built a new facility 15 years ago. When they left their former office, that facility is still sitting vacant after 15 years. In Santa Clara, we have space like that too. We have maybe even in this location where we are currently filming this, there's vacant office space. Whether we should tear that down and build homes, maybe that's a good option to at least put the property to use.
Yeah, and one follow-up question, real quick. Do you see in the future development a role or a place anywhere for the variety, have some little more urban clusters or centers here and there where appropriate?
Yes, I mean, the Rivermark community, maybe as an example, is I think it's probably blossomed or exploded beyond what the city's view of that kind of development could be. Our shopping village is overloaded. People do walk down there, but there's no parking. People enjoy the closeness of the restaurants and stuff. Any other place where we can have these neighborhoods, I think that's beneficial for both the business owner and the homeowner.
Dave Delosier, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Bill, thank you for being involved in our city. Appreciate your time and effort to run for council. I guess I have a question, since you are north of Bayshore and you're involved in the Rivermark development. What is your view of the stadium and how it's going to be a neighbor, or a good neighbor or a bad neighbor to your community?
Sure. On the board of directors that I sit on, there was a former 49ers staff member who is now a director in that organization. So, and we have members of that organization or company that live in our community. So we have a relationship with them, if it's not just a neighborly one. The precinct that I live in, I think, I believe that overwhelmingly voted against the measure for the stadium. So there is a bit of discontent in the north side, I believe, with the stadium there and concerns. Our community, I think that's an issue that's gone to bed as far as is the stadium going to be there. But I think the people on that side of town are concerned about what the impacts on event days will be, and how do we manage those events such that it doesn't have any deleterious effects to the homeowners. Just as a number, our community spends on landscaping, trees, and water $750,000 a year to keep just the one community association of Rivermark landscaping look good. Now, traffic might be controlled in that area, but there's still going to be foot traffic. And Rivermark Village, where the Safeway is, they're probably thinking, well, we want to build 1,000 box lunches on a football game day for tailgating. And so how do we balance that, helping those businesses reap the benefits of that just, explosion of consumers, and also protect the homeowners so that, the day after, we're not spending $1,000 to pick up trash or replace daylilies and agapanthus everywhere that have been walked over.
And since you're very close to that issue, how do you feel that you can help bridge those problems and/or solutions with the community?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the current city council and all the other candidates, they're all residents in zip codes that are not 95054. So the city has 3 zip codes, 51, 50, and 54, I believe. I'm the only person running for council in the 54 zip code. And so, the council had considered geographic districts, and I think they should have gone forward with it, because the interest in throughout the city is not the same. If you live close to Kaiser Santa Clara, you're going to have different concerns than if you live on Agnew, Lafayette, or Rivermark Parkway. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Miles, you have a question?
Yes, and hi, Bill, and thank you for coming today. This is very helpful for us, and I hope for you. Just on a personal note, you were talking about your homeowner association, your community association, and that's very dear to me because I have a similar kind of relationship. When you became president of the board 5 years ago, what were your reserves?
Our reserves as far as dollar amount?
Yes.
They were $2.5 million, I believe.
Okay. And what are they today?
Today they are close to $4 million.
Nice job.
Yeah. But reserves are every year by state law, Davis-Sterling Act,
Sure.
which has very strict guidelines over common interest developments, stipulates that you have to do a reserve study.
Right.
So we do our reserve studies religiously.
And your percentage of reserves to
Our goal is 100% reserve funding.
Yes.
Which means that
Yes,
if we had to replace the roof today, we might not have it.
I understand.
Yeah, okay.
And so what percentage are you in at this moment?
Well, we have 7 budgets. We have a master plus 6
Yes.
community budgets, but for the most part, we're at 100% or are
Terrific.
striving towards 100%
Right.
funded.
And the reason I asked that question is because I think this relates to the way that you would deal with budgets when became on council. And I think that your fiscal integrity is very critical. And as you know, the city is dealing with some issues that are stretching our dollars beyond our capacity to pay. One of those issues is pensions. And can you help us out here with your suggestions, the way you would deal with pension plans in Santa Clara?
Before I became a resident of California, I lived in Indiana, and I worked for Indiana University. In fact, at this point in my life, I've worked about half my life in the public sector and about half in the private sector. 15 years ago, when I worked for Indiana University, I had a 403B account, and we didn't have a pension. I mean, Indiana does have, similar to California, the Indiana State Public Employees Retirement Fund. I think here they call it CalPERF. It's simple math. If the money's not going to be there to pay retirees, we have to make some type of plan so that those retirees don't receive zero in the future. So there has to be some sacrifice or compromises made now. It's like, if those compromises or changes aren't made now, then there's going to be nothing in the future. I mean, we don't want to go the way of, Orange County in the past, or other cities in California that have had to actually declare bankruptcy. And this is a very real elephant that's in the room that, could force the hand of the city, where on other, if you look at all other aspects, we're maintaining or behaving ourselves well. But if this is one that we have to address, and we can't cower away from it.
Thank you.
It maybe it's not always politically good to maybe offer more, but I firmly believe as an elected official that elected officials they're the ones that have been voted in to make those decisions. So I believe that putting things out as a referendum on the ballot, is I would never vote personally to put it onto the ballot, because I think the council should make those decisions. I suppose if the council can't agree, and they have to put it out to some type of referendum. But I think everyone that's running now knows what's ahead of us, and we know that those tough decisions should be made. And I'm not looking to be honored by being elected to pass the buck back to the people who elected me. I will make the decision, and to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Yes, hi. I have a couple questions on your campaign. We asked, have you been endorsed by anyone? You said you've rejected all endorsements, so you're not seeking an endorsement from us?
Well, I'm not opposed to an endorsement. I think my views are pretty conservative. I'm not ashamed of those views, but I was invited by some other organizations like the Sierra Club and the League of Conservation Voters. I didn't think that being interviewed by those organizations would serve their benefit or mine, because maybe it wouldn't be worth either one of our time to interview me. Whereas I feel the chamber is an organization that represents businesses. I'm a businessman. I think that we probably have more in common.
Okay. More about your campaign. In order to win at least the history that I've experienced, you need to either get out and talk to the citizens, or you need to have a campaign where you get flyers out, or both actually is what you need. What are you doing to further your campaign to get your conservative viewpoints? I think conservative viewpoints are good from my perspective, but still you got to let the people know what
Yes.
your views are.
I've been going door to door, talking to people where I have opportunities to meet with individuals face to face. I looked at running for council in January and talked to our city clerk at that time. In discussing it with my wife, she's very focused on family. she would rather have me at home with the 2 young children. And so I didn't file my candidacy until late in August, or late in the candidacy period. So at this point, I haven't produced any flyers or brochures, but I think that, you know, that there, I'm not going to say that there's a certain type or other, but yes, I'll have to do something like that, and I agree.
So it's in your plans to get a campaign up and going as far
Yes.
as getting the information out there as far as that goes. Okay, and I think that ends my questions. I'll go back to you, Dave. Do you have any other questions?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much, Brendan.
I've always got a few more questions. Let me ask you sort of pointedly, why are you running?
Well, I've always felt a commitment to public service. So even through my youth and early adulthood, I've tried to participate in the community. My participation on the board at a homeowners association is a volunteer position. I'm running because I think that the city, compared now to when I first moved into the city, has changed dramatically. Based upon those 3 kind of primary things that I focused on before: budget, customer service, and operational excellence. I think that I can provide you know, advantage to the city through my experience and decision making and idea creation to make the city a better place.
Bill, if you would now, why don't you give us a couple closing statements as far as anything else you'd like to let us know?
Sure. Well, once again, thank you for this opportunity to come and speak to the PAC. You know, I'm greatly honored just to be on the ballot. It's quite an experience to run for city council, and you know, just to re-emphasize the things that I'm interested in doing, and that is curtailing our budgets, not just temporarily but permanently, being self-reliant, making sure that our budgets aren't dramatically impacted by others in the future, making sure that operationally we're taking care of what we can take care of. We shouldn't focus on special or capital projects that add to our responsibility. You don't want to build a new facility and not be able to operate it. So let's just not build the facility and take care of what we can take care of currently. And let's make sure that we provide our citizens with great customer service that would be efficient and timely responses as they request service from us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
This will end the interview.
Thank you.